So hello. One of the super exciting things about this is I see a ton of new faces, and I love that. So could you please raise your hand if you're new to the garden? Thank you. Thanks so much. That's awesome. So I'm going to tell you about the garden and a little bit of housekeeping first. For events like this, we are using the police station as our bathroom. It's right across the street. There's a nice water fountain. It's air conditioned, and if you've paid your taxes, you've already paid for that service. If not, you can use my taxes. They don't care. So anyway, that's where the bathroom is. It is a garden, so I ask that you don't smoke or anything that's going to hurt the plants, trample them, or get into the corn or anything like that. So I appreciate you not doing that. My name is Elizabeth Eubanks, and I'm the lead gardener from the Ground Up Community Garden, and we welcome you. So a little bit about the garden. We are funded and inspired by Innisfree Hotels. The garden started like maybe 7 or 8 years ago by the city. It didn't work out. Innisfree took it over, and we've been going strong ever since. The main objective of the garden is community. Number 2 is actually education. I have a master's in education. I taught for 20 years in the classroom. And so now I get to teach out here, and it's lovely. Number 3 is actually we practice organic gardening, exactly what you would expect. Number 4 is performance and visual arts, so here we are. And then number 5, I just like to wrap up that nice little circle and bring us right back to community. So we're all about community, so I appreciate you being part of that today. The garden basically is sustained by Innisfree Hotels, but it is a dream and passion to be able to say, after 5 years, we don't need your money, give it to somebody else. So we're part of this program that Innisfree Hotels has called The Hive, and that is their corporate social responsibility program. We have a Be Loud person right there, Hillary, give them a flap. So marketing, all that kind of stuff, we do have a Be Loud person. But again, I don't want to take in money from, I always want to be with Innisfree, but we want to be able to give back to the community. So we do ask for donations. We do things like this. We have concerts. We have a program called Friends of the Garden, which is very, very limited, but we harvest CSA boxes for those friends, which is community-supported agriculture. And we have a few friends here, so friends, please wave. So they pay a 1 fee, and they get boxes, and then they can come to our events, and they really just support what we're doing here. So we appreciate them. Any ideas that you have, sponsorships or anything, I'm open to anything, because again, I'm trying to make this, I want to be a model community garden, and I want to be able to do this on our own. So that's the objective. Yes, ma'am. You become by emailing me, or I can give you my card. Again, it's very limited. Like right now, we're getting into a phase where I only have 4 members. At our max is 8. So it's very niche. We're going to be doing dinners in the garden in the fall, and you'll see more events. But you can talk to me about that, and you can talk to them and see if they like it. But they're here, so I hope they do. So the Moth, who's heard of the Moth? Yes. So I'm a huge Moth fan, and although I love music, and although I love gardening and all these things that we do out here, I love the Moth, and I've been listening to it for years. It is my goal to become a Moth venue. The cool thing about us right now is that we're partnering and we're doing things with UWF. So in saying that, UWF has supported us. We have Joshua here this evening, and he is recording our entire show. We have Chastity over there, and Chastity, if you don't know, how many people didn't know that UWF has a community garden? So if you didn't know that, you need to get over there. So Chastity, and she's got a partner, Greg Tomso, they really run that garden. They do a beautiful job, but we're just trying to kick things off together. So this is a partnership with them. And then the really cool thing is that we have Pat Crawford here. I thought you disappeared. Pat's here from WUWF. So we're really connecting across the board. I'm glad to see Hillary out here from Be Loud. And I think that's all I have to say. I do want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing today. So rules, we kind of have, the stories must be original, they must be personal, they're at a 5-minute cap, and with the theme grow. They should be from your brain and not written, but we're trying to get started, and we want to support you in any way that you feel brave enough to get up here. They should not be read, like I just said, and we don't want any meanies. So no hate talk, discrimination, racial, any kind of slurs. Just try to be nice, because we're definitely not about that. So we want good energy in here. The 5 minutes, there's a little bit of leeway. But basically, you're at 5 minutes. So at 4.5 minutes, if you're tuned in, you're going to hear Peter go, right? And then At 5 minutes, you're going to hear Peter go. And then at 6 minutes, you're going to hear Peter go. Yeah, so we really needs to finish up at 6 minutes. So Peter has been a volunteer of the garden. Peter just got his wings, and we thank him for his service. And it's sad because he'll be leaving us to go to San Diego, but I will visit him there more than once. Chastity is a judge, and so UWF is representing over there. And then Christina is from Improbable Cause. Improbable Cause. So those are our two judges. This is a judged event. We do have a great little gift certificate for the winner of that. So no pressure, but we do have judging. And I think I've hit, the other really cool thing that we have are paper thoughts. So if you have a paper thought about growth, we're not going to belt out your name, but anything to do with growth, and growing can be anything. Write it down, bring it up here, and then in between people, Pat's going to call out, and he's going to invite, he's going to actually just read some of those paper thoughts. So thank you again for being here. We are being recorded, so keep it really nice and loud. And yes, ma'am, Geraldine. Oh, thank you, T. She hit me. Thank you. Yes, thank you, because that is another way that we are trying to sustain ourselves. So we do have an amazing sweatshirt blanket from the ground up. That's green and white. That's $35. We have, Andrew, can you just hold things up as they come? We have koozies that are $5 that have a little pocket, actually. To put things in. We have our tumblers, which are $25 each. We have a white and green, and then we have a growing, earthy kind of wood tone. We have hats that are $25 each, and then we do have sodas and seltzers and water and snacks and candy and all kinds of treats like that. Thank you very much, because that's my weak spot. It is promoting. There's a blanket. Andrew, we'll get it open for when Pat takes a breath, we'll hold it up and you can see it. So thank you. Thanks again. Thank you.
Okay. Well, she told you everything. I have nothing left to say, except I want to say how grateful we are to have Elizabeth and what she does with Andrew and Rob to make this beautiful garden the success that it is. So we need to give her a big round of applause. And I will, from time to time, remind you of the rubrics so you'll know what you're being judged on. And of course, Peter's going to audibly remind you with his little bell. It's kind of a rusty bell, but he will make it work well. Okay, we're going to get started right away now. And I was looking at these names, and some people write even worse than me, so I may be struggling with some of the names, but most of them are pretty clear. So we're going to start out this evening with Jerry Converse. Jerry, come on down. Yes. Yeah, I'll kind of hold on to the clipboard, but I'll just stand over here, and if you want to sign up, feel free to. And I would say, Jerry, just stay as close to this as you can so it'll carry well for everybody. Thank you. Good luck.
Good evening. I stand here before you, a new resident of Pensacola. I've been here 2.5 weeks. Don't start my timer yet. This is not my growth story. But anyway, to get acclimated and acclimatized, I've been picking up every single free newspaper I can find. And I find interesting things. That's why I'm here. I found you guys. Okay. Now, the story I'm going to tell starts a very, very long time ago, and it's personal. Would you believe 1951? I did not go to kindergarten. They didn't have it on my side of town till the next year. So I started the first grade at age 6 in 1951. My instructor, or my teacher, was Martha Rackeldorfer, who was fresh out of college, a German girl from the fields of Ohio. And she didn't know what to do with me. I'm sure that before the labels were common, I was every one of them. And I probably should have been medicated. But I think she quickly gave up and just kind of ignored me. One time when it was bad weather, my mother had squeezed me into my goulashes, got to school, and I was put into detention. It was time for me to go home. My detention was served. I couldn't get my goulashes over my heels. I asked her to help me, and she wouldn't do it. So I had to walk home with them half on my feet. So I had her for 2 years and was pretty much ignored. Can't say I blame her. Third grade, I had Margaret Tulsa. She was a septuagenarian and about that close to retirement. She couldn't do anything with me either. Then in the 4th grade, hallelujah, I got a man teacher, Floyd Lloyd Thomas, who was a piano tuner on the side. We had little tables for 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we would have times when we were supposed to be doing assignments or resting. And during those time periods, I began to notice Mr. Thomas would come over and get down on one knee and talk to this boy whose name was Alan Radeball. And they would exchange books. Alan would give him the one he had just read. Mr. Thomas would give him another one. Well, I watched this for weeks. And finally, I said, Mr. Thomas, are you ever going to give me a book? He said, do you want a book? I said, I want a book. He gave me a hardback book. It was on Navy ships in World War I, United States Navy fighting ships in World War I. So I read it, and got another one, and got another one, and got another one, got another one. And then by the 2nd semester of the 5th grade, I had been saved. And those Stanford Binet standardized tests to give you, they came back, and at the 2nd semester of the 5th grade, I was reading 2nd semester junior year of college. So I want to thank Alan Radeball, wherever he is, and it was an act of jealousy that got me on the trail to love reading.
Thank you, Jerry. That was a great story. We appreciate that. And welcome to Pensacola. All right, I'm going to read one of our paper thoughts for tonight. Favorite quote, bloom where you're planted. Very good. All right. Up next, we have Mezzie Baxter. There she is. All right. All right. Another paper thought for us. Even when you get stumped, you can still grow. Oh, and here's one that's front and back. So let me see if I can, may take me 5 minutes to read this one. Often growth isn't linear. At times it seems that stagnancy shrouds our existence. Sometimes these periods, perceived as stale, actually help our soul produce small but mightily sprouts. And sometimes periods of stagnancy just suck. I like that. That's great. Okay. Up next, Geraldine Varigard. Yes, you signed. Are you just signing in too, or are you telling a story? Geraldine can always come up with a story, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
Dickie's going to tell a story too, Pat. Hey, everybody. Great to see everybody here. So my name's Geraldine, and Dick and I, they always dub us in our family. You know, you have a long story. I make a long story short. We make a short story long. But this is something that happened to me 2 weeks ago at Pensacola State College swimming pool. I swim there. And they are starting to do kids camps and teach swimming to little kids. And it's so beautiful. Because as I'm swimming, I've only been at it 2 years now, back swimming and regaining great health. And a lot of gratitude comes in my heart of people that taught me how to swim. I grew up in New Orleans in the inner city, and a couple of my siblings don't know how to swim. But a community center came into my life and taught me. So I'm like so grateful, and when I see little kids, I am so happy that they're getting to learn to swim. So there was a mama and little bitty boy, about 4 years old, about that big. This was last week. She was, sitting at the edge of the pool with him, and he was not liking it. He was crying and screaming, and and like, she apologized. She said, "I'm sorry about him being, upset, like kind of disturbing the harmony." And she said the day before was his first swimming class. And the mom and dad were in there with him, and he was scared to death, and he was hanging on for dear life, and he didn't want to come back, right? So she had the wisdom that she was going to bring him back the next day, just him and her, and help him get acclimated. So when I saw this unfolding, I knew that there was floaties available and little swim vest that he could put on. So I went and grabbed one. And she didn't know, that was available, and she put it on him, and it was like magic. He stepped off those steps, and he floated. And all you could hear for the next hour was this little boy's glee. Just so happy, splashing and laughing, and you could see it on the mama's face too. And as I reflected on that, of how simple we help each other go from fear to joy. And that just lit up my whole day, and I, reflected on the people that helped me with fear, even today, and how sometimes it can be instantaneous. And so then he didn't want to get out the pool when it was time. And we're all back in the shower. He's a little bitty boy. She brought him into the women's dressing room. And on the way out, he turns and he says, "I love swimming, Mama." And he waves to all us old ladies. So, thank you. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, Dickie, you got volunteered to tell a story. You gonna do it? All right.
Good evening, everybody. This story goes back to when I was in the 10th grade. I went to Milton High School, and we were having a homecoming parade. And for the big deal in Milton was football. So we had this, I forgot where they were from, maybe Choctawhatchee, but it was the Eagles. And so the theme of the parade was Blast the Eagles. So we made a float that had a box on it that we made it kind of look like a cannon. And we had a barrel coming out of it. Well, since I was a little bitty fella in school, I was 5'3", 107 pounds when I graduated high school. They said, "Oh, you get to go inside the box." I said, "Okay." So inside the box, we had a whole bunch of pigeons. And I had a broomstick with a milk carton with the top cut off. It was stapled to the broomstick. So I could set the pigeons into the milk carton and then take the broomstick and shove them up the barrel, and they would just fly out. And so we were blasting the eagles. And so it was all looking really cool and everything. But before I got into the box, this guy had a couple smoke bombs. He said, "Here, take these with you. This will look really good from the cannon." So I said, "Oh, yeah, okay, cool." So I'm in the box. Meantime, the pigeons, you don't realize how much they crap until you're in a box with a whole bunch of pigeons and you're shoving them up the barrel. They were crapping all over me. So I light the the smoke bomb, and I don't have a whole lot of room in this box, and I throw it up the barrel, and it goes boom, and it blows up right in my lap. And so the whole box is just filled with smoke. So I'm over there, and I punch a hole in the side of the cardboard, and I'm sticking my nose out the box. And everybody in the parade's loving it, man. The barrel's smoking. It looks really cool. So it finally gets enough out where I can begin shoving pigeons back out again. And the smoke's going out, and the pigeons are going out, and everybody just loved it. It was a great success, but it was really hard on me and hard on the pigeons too, but they survived it.
Okay, a couple more thoughts. Growing, glowing, sowing, a garden reflecting life. This one's good as well. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. All right. Chastity wants to tell a story. Elizabeth's going to tell one, and I'm going to end up telling one because Lynn Marshall's here tonight. I need to do it because she inspired. You want me to do it, my story? All right. Okay. Because Lynn figures heavily in my story. That's why I have to do it while she's here. Actually, more than 10 years ago now, I was going through some things in my personal life that made me need some time to sort of collect my thoughts and get together and do a little emotional growing. So I hatched this idea that was something that would also help the radio station as a fundraiser. I decided that I was going to walk from Florida to Washington, NPR headquarters, to raise money for the radio station. But also, more than that, it was my personal journey to get out there and do a little growing. When I was planning the trip, first of all, most of the staff thought I was crazy, Lynn particularly, and she had all kinds of suggestions. I think she was the first one to say, well, you're going to be out there by yourself? Because I literally just went with me, a backpack, and that was it. I didn't have a crew behind me or anything like that. And she said, aren't you afraid of mean people? And I said, they're not going to bother me. And then we were talking about something else, and she said, well, what about bands of roving pit bulls? And I said, seriously, where are those? And she goes, oh, I grew up in Kansas. I know about roving pit bulls. So I don't know about Kansas. Something tells me something weird about Kansas. So anyway, I said, okay, I'll take some pepper spray. So I bought this little thing of pepper spray about the size of a chapstick that had maybe 6 squirts in it. And I hung it on my pack. So I had that with me. So I was walking along. I never even thought about it again. Day 4 of the trip, I'm in Georgia. How appropriate, pit bulls. I'm in southern Georgia, and I've been walking for about 3 hours on this road that you couldn't see anything in either direction as far as you look for miles. And there was no houses, no anything. No cars had come by. I was on Route 17. Suddenly there was this farmhouse on the side of the road, and it looked so idyllic. It was your typical old farmhouse. Very old, rusted tin roof, big, huge front porch with all these chairs on it. I thought, this really looks inviting. Well, as I got closer, 7 heads popped up on the front porch, and they were all pit bulls, of course. And they immediately started acting fairly aggressive and came running down the driveway, which was red clay, so it created this cloud of red dust, sort of like the apocalypse. And I thought of Lynn immediately. I was like, damn, she was right. There are roving bands of pit bulls. What am I going to do? Well, my mind was going through all the things you have to remember about when you encounter a dog that might be vicious. Don't make eye contact. Well, I had sunglasses on, so that was pretty cool about that. My favorite was be the alpha dog. And I was like, yeah, right. That was 7 of them. And then I remember my little pepper spray thing, and I thought, okay, well, wait a minute. There's 7 of them. I might have 7 squirts of it. And if I could get them all to sit in a row, I could probably go up and take care of all of them. But I didn't think that was going to work. And then I had even more stupid thoughts. I thought, well, you know what? I looked at them and I said, maybe they have an invisible fence. Right, this is rural Georgia. And I said, invisible fence. Well, none of them had collars on. So I said, well, I don't guess they have the invisible fence. So I was really at a loss as to what I was going to do. Once again, thinking about Lynn's advice, and I thought, man, I should have gotten the supersized can of spray, pepper spray. So anyway, thoughts were racing through my mind. And about that time, they came to the road, and I was walking against traffic. So I was walking north, and they were here to my right. And so I thought, well, maybe they won't cross the road over to where I am. And I looked either direction, as far as I could see, nothing. No cars, nothing. Nobody coming out of the house. It was like it was me and the dogs. Didn't know what I was going to do. So I just sort of decided, well, I'm going to have to stand fast and look like I'm the alpha dog. So I had my hiking poles with me, and I kind of planted them and just sort of waited for them to come. And 3 of them came over immediately and started to do the circling thing and moving in closer and closer. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, about that time, I swear, out of nowhere, this white Nissan pickup truck with blacked out windows, so I couldn't see who was in the truck, comes screeching to a halt between me and the other dogs. I have no idea where it came from. I have an idea. But, and he just laid on the horn, he or she or whoever was in the truck, they just laid on the horn, and the dogs that were on the other side of the road turned around and actually ran up back towards the porch. And I thought, well, good, I only have to worry about the 3 that are here. So I stood my ground, and I said, get, as hard as I could, and he was, of course, laying on the horn, and they turned and also ran back up to the porch. So I thought, this is great. About that time, whoever it is pulls off. They take off down the road, and I'm thinking, wait, I want to thank you, but also don't leave yet. Because if you leave, they're going to turn right around and come back, and I'm going to be fresh meat. But they didn't, and I walked as fast as I could for several miles before I finally stopped. And when I stopped that night and camped, I thought to myself, you know what? I know who was driving that truck. And I felt so safe and so protected that night I took that spray and threw it away. And then the next 54 days on the road, I never had a dangerous encounter like that again. So that was my trip. You bet. And I had a lot of guardian angels that came along on the rest of the trip too. It was amazing. When you just needed them, they would appear. All right, Elizabeth or Chastity, which one do you want to go next? All right, Chastity.
How tough to follow Pat Crawford's story. Seriously. Friends help us grow. And I just saw my daughter, and she's gonna make me cry. And I have a dear friend I wanted to tell you guys about. She was born into poverty. Is that the train? How exciting! Should I wait? Yeah. Choo choo. Okay. Oh, good. So I wanted to tell you about my friend, a dear friend, who was born into poverty and grew up on welfare, lived in public housing. We called it the projects back then. Dealt with mental and sexual abuse. Yet she didn't let any of those hurdles become barriers in her life. And I learned so much being her friend. I learned how to make it work. I learned that hard work can get you somewhere. And I learned, excuse me, to say bless you. I learned to make my own good luck. And I learned that kindness and compassion had a much greater value than wealth. I am who I am today because of our friendship. Because of what I learned from her. I was able to put myself through grad school as a single mom, and I now have a job that I truly love. I have 2 healthy kids who are well on their way to being fabulous adults. I am happy and content and grateful. So freaking grateful. Because I am my friend. My friend is me. And being my friend, I learned that just like a dandelion that is growing out of a crack in the middle of a parking lot, it doesn't matter where or how your seed was sown. It only matters that you have resilience and determination to grow.
think there's one more, but anyway, I'll let you read that. So hi, I'm Elizabeth, and so I'll tell you, I'm nervous. So I'm not ready. Don't push stuff. No. Anyway, so I'm ready. April 1963, sperm hits the egg, and I start to grow. January 1964, I'm born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it's a very sensitive story, so watch out. So I'm born in Louisiana, New Orleans, and my mom abandons me at that point and leaves me in an orphanage. Sorry. That was St. Vincent's, and I stayed there for several extra months because I had to have a little surgery. But I was soon adopted by some amazing parents, and so I started out physically growing perfectly, except for the little surgery, but I was fine. So I hit middle school, and I'm an emotional wreck. And recently, I've read this book called The Primal Wound, and I realized that for an adopted child, I was hitting all these marks. Promiscuity, jail, drugs, alcohol, you name it. I was a wild child, not so great with relationships, family or friends. I was a mess, and I kind of worked those things out along the way. Fast forward, April 2018, just now, I had taken a little Ancestry.com spit test 4 years ago, and in mid-April, here's my biological mom, and I'm numb. I can't even express the emotions because I was numb. Everything that you could imagine, my body was ignited. I'm 55 years old, so this is a long time coming, and I've made up so many stories in my head. That family was wonderful. This story is not about them. They've been amazing. The story continues with my biological father. So 2 weeks later, and I have all this family coming in, all these new people that want to talk to me, and I can hardly process. 2 weeks later, I decide that I figured out who my bio dad is. And I start reaching out to him, and we kind of do this little dance a bit on the phone, and then he says, well, let's do a paternity test. And by this time, we're starting to really like each other, and we have a lot of things in common, as you would expect. So we do this little dance, we do the paternity test, it comes back 99.999% positive, and he kind of laughs at, that's kind of crazy, right? But we're happy, and he says, Elizabeth, I'm here for you, call me whenever you want. I'm happy to be in your life. I'm glad it's you, and I'm glad that we found each other. And I'm beside myself, because truth be told, the mom has dementia, so I'm not getting a lot from her, the bio mom. The bio dad, I must tell you, is 80 and has a bit of dementia, admittedly, but I still have these amazing conversations with him. So 2 nights later, he calls me, and he says, and I'm excited. I see his name on there, and I'm like, it's bio dad, yay. He calls, and he says, my family wants nothing to do with you. And basically he says, don't call me, I'll call you. So I go to bed, I wake up at 2 a.m, gut-wrenched, sobbing, and I'm like, I need to write. So I start writing, and I start thinking, must be how my biological mom felt at 19, right? Beautiful man, very charming, brings you in, very magnetic, and then says, see ya, there's a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. So anyway, I feel empathetic with her, kind of put it aside. Now I have this girlfriend since 4th grade, Andrea, and she calls me a slow drop of water because I come back, drip, drip, drip. I come back. If it's in my gut, I'm coming back. So I give this man a few months because I do care about him, and I think this is horrible. So I give him a few months. I start to write to him. By the end of December, now August, September, October, November, December, I hear from him. And we start talking and talking. And one of the things that he knows is that I deeply want to see him. So sometimes he calls and he says, I got to go because my wife's coming home. She doesn't like this either. Or if you text me, don't let me know, don't let anybody know that we actually spoke. So I'm like this secret girl. But I don't care because I want to know him. And he's 80 and he's got dementia and he might not be alive that long. And I need to suck this in. So he says, a month ago, I'm coming to see you. Can you meet me in Pass Christian? My friend's going to drive me there. My family is fine with it. And I'm like, of course I can meet you. So I get all excited, but I have this apprehension. And sure enough, that night, I'm with T. And he texts and says, my friend can't make it. And I believe him. It was an insurance thing. He said, but I will be there next week. I promise you. I can come. I've washed the car. I've washed the dog. I can't wait to meet you. And I believe him. So next Tuesday rolls around, I make no contact with this man. He texts me, Elizabeth, I'm coming, but I'm coming to Pensacola. I want to meet your husband. I want to see the garden. I'm coming. And I get real excited. And I'm like, this time is for real. And I'm going to look at this man in my face and I'm going to hug him because I don't know when his mind is going and I don't know anything else. So he calls 4 o'clock on Tuesday and I'm like, I can't talk, I'm working. He says, call me, call me, call me. So I'm standing right here and he says, Elizabeth, my daughters are freaking out. Now these are 30, 40-year-old women. They even have an adopted child as well. They don't want me to come. I don't know what to do. And I want to stomp my foot and scream, you've had them your whole entire life. I want a flippin' hour. That's it. I just want an hour. I want to look at you. I want to hug you. Don't these people understand? And I don't know what they understand. I don't know. That was my little saying. I know change has to come, but growth is inevitable. I'm scared. I don't know what to do next. He likes the monarch butterflies. I want to text him a picture of the hairy balls because I think it's really funny. The hairy balls plant, which is crazy. But I'm afraid because I have my feel. I'm raw. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive this. He said, if you ever get to Thibodeau, come see me. And he's very close to Thibodeau. I'm going this weekend. I don't know if I should call him. I'm going to be sitting at McDonald's for an hour waiting. Do I do that? I don't know if I can put myself there. So the Clash, the song from the Clash keeps running through my head. And I ask you, and if you have any vibes, just send them and I'll know what to do. Should I stay or should I go now? Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Wow. Anybody else? Rob? Yeah, come on up.
Okay, the last and final thought. Okay. In the words of Ruth Asawa, a Japanese-American artist, when you put a seed in the ground, it doesn't stop growing after 8 hours. It keeps growing every minute that it's in the earth. We too need to keep growing every minute of every day we are on this earth. Very nice. All right. All right, so I really, for some reason, I struggled with this easy topic of grow. I mean, come on, this is easier than last time, which was flower power. But I came up with a story for that pretty quickly. And so literally like till 10 minutes ago, I was like, bing, okay, I've got an idea here. 1995, I was in Africa, living there, teaching at a boarding school because I had graduated from undergraduate with a degree that, like, I had no idea what I wanted to do with. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life at the time, so why not go to Africa and teach at a boarding school? So Kenya. And so I was there, which is close to Tanzania, and I had a chance to go and climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So it was a long journey just to kind of get to that point of doing the trip, and all we got there, start down at the bottom around, I think, 7,000 feet. And, it's a journey over several days with a Sherpa and a couple of other guides as well, carrying, food and supplies. And then we have our packs. And so we make our way the first day up to around 10, 12,000 feet, something like that. And so the next day we're going up to like 16,000 feet. And then we have to stay overnight, I think around 24 hours, in order for your body to acclimate and adjust, so that then you can get up at 2 o'clock the next morning and make the final ascent, which is up to 19,700 and something feet. So if you know anything about altitude, especially what's been in the news lately about everything that's been going on over in Nepal with everybody trying to, conquer the mountain over there and people dying, well, the altitude is a huge thing. That's a lot. That's 10,000 feet higher than Kilimanjaro. But even at 19,000 feet, there's so little oxygen up there. And so making the final ascent at 2 o'clock in the morning, we get up, we start climbing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's almost straight uphill, and we're just doing these traverses back and forth, and then we get into the ice fields. And so we start climbing through the ice fields, and so we're surely around 17,000 feet because every step is just like you've run a sprint as fast as you can go, and you've been a lifelong smoker, and you have the worst hangover of your life because there's so little oxygen. You have this wicked, wicked bad headache. And then we start getting into an ice storm on top of that. And so my eyelashes, any fur on my body that's exposed has ice on it. So I have to stop every so often, and so did the other people in our group. And I mean, it was just painful. There's like nothing sexy or romantic about climbing a mountain that freaking huge. So, like these pictures you see, yeah, they're cool, but those people are in severe pain and they want to get down. So I stop at this one point, and the whole time our Sherpa, our main guide, is like, he's just cruising ahead of us and just stops and waits, no big deal or whatever. Then we get up to the top. I'm like, this guy's got to be feeling it. Around the corner, and then against this boulder, this dude is like just leaning back on this rock, smoking a cigarette. You're going to have to walk faster if you want to get up to the top there, And then I'm just like, stop, and I look at him like, are you kidding me? Like smoking a cigarette, and I'm like killing myself just to take in a breath. And so, make it to the top, start our way down. The journey's over, but reflecting on that, of course, is this monumental thing that there's a lot of psychology that goes into experiences like that and into climbing something like that. And this dude has done it so many times that certainly his body was feeling it. Yeah, he was in better condition than we were, but still, there wasn't all the psychological hurdles. I subsequently learned a similar lesson years later running marathons. About 80% of running a marathon is psychological. And you would be amazed. I ran the Boston Marathon, it's probably the biggest one I ran, and all the different body types crossing the finish line. You would not, people missing limbs and wheelchairs and arm bikes and stuff like that. And so that was such a huge starter of growth for me in terms of shifting perception around situations can create a significant shift in your experience of that. So I learned that starting then in Mount Kilimanjaro and then later with running marathons, and then found my way to my career, which was getting a PhD in the field of psychology and teaching this stuff to students, and also in my therapy practice for years of shifting your perception shifts your experience. And for me, that is the key to growth in anyone's life. So thank you.
Okay, no more thoughts. Hillary, your time. Come on down.
Hello, everyone. So this story is about how I grew up and became. Oh, okay. This story. Is that good? Can y'all hear me? All right. So this story is how I grew up and became my mother. I owe a lot of who I am today to both my grandmother and my mother. My mom came to this country with me, 1-year-old baby in hand, with 2 quarters in her pocket to call my aunt to come pick her up from the airport. From then, she would work all the time, go to school, and I would stay with my grandma. So I did most of my growing up with my grandmother. But my mom is very young, so I remember on the weekends, I used to watch her go through her clothes. She made this huge mess, but beautiful clothes. And I used to be just, I cannot wait till I have a ton of clothes that I could try on. And as I got older, I kind of started to get, I don't want to say I started to get more Americanized, but I started to want to be like my peers more. We moved out of the city into upstate New York, and parenting is much more different than immigrant communities were way more strict. But I didn't understand that. I wanted to be like everyone else. So as I grew older, me and my mom would fight constantly, all the time. I was like, I don't understand this woman. We would assume that I was adopted because we seemed to be so different. Her friends would come to visit, and they would say, oh, you and your mom are so much alike. And I was like, don't you dare talk, I am nothing like her. But as I've grown older, I've noticed that I had the gift to watch my mom move up and live through the American dream. As a young single mother, she got her college education. She was able to raise me. We had a beautiful home. I'm a college graduate. And this is all because of my mom's hard work. And even though I am not as controlled as my mother, I find myself getting annoyed at other people at the same thing she would get annoyed at me about. I would be sitting somewhere and see kids acting out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just imagine my mom's hand. And it's just really interesting to just see how she was right all along. She's never heard this, so no one's recording it, so I'm set. But she's never gonna hear it. So it's pretty much a thank you to my mom for making me the person I am today. And that's my story.
Anybody else? Last chance? Momentary inspiration? Sure. Well, you don't have to. You can stand down on the grass if you want to. And you'll have to tell us who you are since you didn't sign up.
Can I just say, I just don't want people to run away. We do have a sign-in sheet, and we are recording tonight. And I do have on there, if you don't mind if it's posted or not. So if you can just write yes or no in that blank. It is recorded, and I want to be clear about that. But before I post it anywhere, I want your permission. So if you spoke, please do make sure you sign that.
I'm using an alias. All right. Not sure about what I just signed. So growth is a really good topic for me because I'm almost 6 feet tall. So that works well, just from a very literal standpoint. But I'm going to tell you guys a story about non-linear growth. Yes, I can get closer. How's that? Better? Okay. Elizabeth, thank you for sharing your story. It's actually kind of, it is what inspired me to tell my story about, and in this case, it's going to be about non-linear growth. So I have a relationship, a rather complex relationship with my father. Right now, it is relatively non-existent, mostly because of a person in his life who doesn't feel that relationships with his daughters are something that she is interested in. So that has been a very a challenging experience for me and my sister over the past 5 years, because my dad, who was Superman, literally Superman, he had a massive stroke 5 years ago and is now significantly neurologically impaired. So I have very little ability to connect with him because his wife does not allow us in her house and in their house, and he's impaired and it's hard for him to get out. So the connections are, it's difficult to make these connections happen. So the nonlinear part of this is let's go back in time to when I was a little girl. I was about this height, actually, when I was 9 years old, and I got a 77 on a spelling test in 4th grade, and I was devastated. I had never made anything below an A. I forgot that this spelling test was happening. And I came home from school with this 77 in my backpack. And I was mortified. And I was just at the place, I was 9, getting close to 10, so we were just at the place that my mom would leave me for little bits of time while she would take my sister to dance. So on this afternoon, she was taking my sister to dance, and she left me for what she anticipated to be about 30 minutes. And Meanwhile, me and my 77 on my spelling test became very involved. And so I decided I can't go on. Life cannot go on. I've made a 77 on a spelling test. This is it. This is where it ends for me. So I get some overalls on that came up to about here on me, because back then there was no such thing as tall clothing. It was all capris. I was wearing capris long before they were in. All right, so I get the overalls on. I pack a bag with Triscuits and milk and dog food. And I put my little sweet collie, she was actually a Sheltie, she looked like a collie, her name was Molly, on a leash. And we head out. I leave the 77 spelling test at home. And we leave because life it's over. This is it. So Molly and I go, and I lived in Birmingham at the time. We had a lot of woods behind our house, so we go back in the woods, and I'm gone for hours and hours. And as I'm there drinking my milk and eating my Triscuits, I'm thinking, oh, nuts. How will I recover from this? I won't. And I can see the police siren. I can see the lights because I've been gone for several hours. It's dark. My dad finds me, and he brings me back home, and I tell the story that I've been kidnapped because I'm beyond mortified. I've run away. I was a 77. I've been kidnapped. So the police are involved. No one believes me. Of course I haven't been kidnapped. I'm wearing overalls. I have my dog. I have Triscuits and milk. It's ridiculous. So this goes on, and for probably 2 to 3 months, and I'm talking to the police, and it's like the lie is getting it. Oh, and I'm just stomach aches, and you can imagine. So one night, my dad sits down with me on their big California king bed, and he holds my hand and he says, Laura, I know you weren't kidnapped. I know that's not what happened. And it's okay. When you're ready to say what happened, when you're ready to talk to me, to tell anyone about what happened, I'm here. I did end up telling him, and they had already known about the 77. They knew long before that. But yet, here I am with my father in a very strained relationship. But in that moment, there was growth.
So glad that so many of you are spontaneously coming up here and telling your stories tonight. That's what this is all about. Another long one too. All right. Who would hate thought that when gazing upon an acorn, that it contains all the information one day to become a mighty oak? All right, Bella, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Being here tonight is that my story about growing is about me. And one of the ways I'm doing that is to stand here right now. I think it's funny that I said, do you have to get up on stage? So I want to, at the age of 63, I still am learning to be comfortable with who I am, who I've become, what I've experienced, and I've experienced a lot of things that y'all have touched on, though I haven't climbed. The highest mountain I have ever been on is the Boone, North Carolina, there. But lots of abandonment and abuse and all those things that you guys touched on, and I would love to learn to be my friend. So part of my growing experience is to get comfortable and tell stories, because I write, and I'm a closet performer, singing and playing guitar and writing mostly, and all those things. And I'm going to the Improbable Cause workshop coming up, because I saw those ladies. I saw a bunch of wonderful performers at Swan Day and Improbable Cause. If you ever have a chance, you should. They're just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Anyway, I want to tell you more, but I don't know what that looks like yet. So I just want to say that this is my growth, being here, being vulnerable, and meeting you all, and thank you.
I think Della summed it up pretty well. That is what this night's all about. And what a great way it just kind of all came together like it did. Anybody else want to have a story? Our judges are working hard. Yes, Elizabeth has a few words.
He's tall, I'm not. So I did want to tell y'all one really cool thing about the stage. It's the stage is actually called Grow 495, and a little bit of growth within the garden. I didn't tell you about the trail magic here, so anybody a hiker besides my husband and Boone, and so you know what trail magic is? Does everybody know what trail magic is? Have you heard of it? So basically, you're exhausted on some big long hike, and Pat's a hiker, he got the bulldogs, and his trail magic was the white chalk. Yes. So trail magic is basically people just come by and they drop things. So like you might be hiking for 2 days and then you see cokes in a stream, and that's trail magic. So the garden has a lot of trail magic. A lot of people just pitch in and do things. We have a beekeeper. My neighbor made us the cute little library out front. But one of the cool things is the stage and how the garden's been growing as a result. So an Eagle Scout put this, we had a small stage, a very small stage, because they wanted us to try to raise money. And I'm like, let's bring in musicians because I love music. And we had this teeny stage, and then a scout came in and he built this stage. And then another scout came in and grew the stage, another Eagle Scout, and all these little benches out here. So I just think it's a really cool idea for the garden is grow. Like it's just a great theme for the garden. We are going to have more events in the fall. We do have a movie coming up on Wednesday, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We're so in the middle of growing pains with what we're trying to do here. Technically, the event is free, but we were having problems with people not signing up and then turning people away. So then we decided we're going to have people sign up, but we have so many people sign up that other people can't sign up, and then people don't show, so people couldn't come. So then we're like, well, we'll charge $5 for a drink and a snack, and now people aren't signing up because it's $5. But it is a free event, technically, and we do have a drink and a snack if you put the $5 in. But Ferris Bueller is our last show. That's on Wednesday, so please do come, and it technically is free. Hillary, we just got to figure this out some sort of way. I don't know. It's free, and we were probably just going to have to post that, but I just don't want to turn anybody away. That's my big objective. I don't want people like Hocus Pocus driving from Milton and then leaving. So if you can think of how I can grow this message, I don't know, and just how to figure out things with the garden. This is where I get weak and I need my community to support me. We will have events in the fall. We're looking at sponsorship, a dinner, definitely music events. We're going to have 2 more story slams. I'm hoping to get it recorded. I'm also hoping to bring a vet speaker around that time of the year. And if you have any ideas for a theme, we are going to probably do 2 now in the fall and then 2 in the spring again. I hope that you will continue to support this because I do want to be a Moth venue, and I'm hoping Pat can help with his radio voice and his radio style, and we'll just see. We'll all send letters to the Moth. We'll send them paper thoughts. We want to grow. But anyway, I'm kind of ending. If anybody wants to share anything or has any public service announcement, I know, Pat, y'all have the radio live coming up, and Andrew has something to say. So while our judges are finishing, we'll let them do that, and we'll be thrilled to award somebody with a prize. Thank you. What's that? Oh, so volunteering. Thank you, Laura. I miss points because I think people can read my mind. So we are kind of shutting down a little bit for the summer, but one of the things that we do is Andrew and I are here at 20-ish weeks, 20-ish hours in a week, and it's usually Tuesday and Friday mornings and Wednesday and Thursday evenings. We do harvest for CSA customers on Thursdays or Friday mornings. So we're here. We welcome volunteers. Come in if you have any ideas about anything to do with any of what I talked about, including growing plants and gardening. Please do come share. You take food home. We want you to take food home. The garden wants you to take food home. In the summer, we do shut down, and then we have volunteers come, and then they share food with people that eat on Thursdays under the bridge. So we can give back that way. I do teach here, so I have classes. So if you are involved with any school group, please send them. I have a master's in education, taught for 20 years. So I'm a teacher at heart, and so is Andrew. We're going to be doing summer camp. So if you have any questions, do come see me or Andrew or my husband Rob, or Chastity knows a bunch, and I think Pat knows. And I thank Josh and I thank Peter for being here, and Chastity and Christina. And I really thank you all, the storytellers and the listeners. We all need each other, so we couldn't do it without either one. We need you. And Andrew, whatever you have to say, I don't know what you're doing.
Don't go too far. Stay there. I just wanted to take a personal moment to just thank Elizabeth. I don't know if you guys know or have met her. If you haven't before, it won't take long for you to know how hard she works here and how much this space has become integrated into her life, and how I just wanted to take a personal moment to thank you for teaching me so much, and just about leadership and compassion and community. And so I just have a gift for you. It's a card, and some of our volunteers and Friends of the Garden came together and got you a full spa day pass. So you can go and tune out and enjoy yourself and have a Swedish massage. So
Oh my gosh.
thank you, and we love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I know why Don went down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, judges. They said the decision was really, really hard. They had a lot of people, a lot of really moving stories, as you all know tonight. But our winner tonight is Hillary.
We should have told the story like it's a little story, the whispering thing to see if we get it right.
Oh, God.
We should have done that little whispering thing to see if it got to the end.
Yeah.
So Hillary, you're so happy to get it right. Fish, good, good.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Thanks, Hillary.